One of my astute subscribers has recognized this sailing ship as the USS Constitution, still a commissioned frigate in the United States Navy.
Hi, welcome back to Jenkins Boatworks. I am Chuck Jenkins, and in this episode we're going to look at my initial thought process for building the mast for the Haven 12 and a half. I have to warn you, there's not a lot of boat building in this particular episode. More just a bit of seeing how my thought process develops and how I make decisions for what I'm going to do. And there's a bit of frustration in this one too. If you hang in there until the end, there is a clip that I tell how I got my nickname, Turtle. And so that may be worth the price of admission. All right, here we go. I am seriously working on, at least in my head, the mast. We've got this view of it here, and then there's quite detailed description at the top of this page up here. This mast is tapered in some ways. At the very lowest part, which would be there at the left at the top, it shows that it's 2 5/8 in diameter. Most of the rest of the mast is 3 1/4 inches in diameter until you get to the very top where it tapers down to, I believe, 3 inches. So, well, and even at the very top, looks like it even goes down to 2 1/8. So I had a thought about using my old mast that I fashioned for the Demon 15. This mast is about 21, a little better than 21 feet. And this was made out of 2x4 pieces of Douglas fir that were laminated together, and there's a whole video on when I made this particular mast, and we'll try to link that later. So I've pretty much decided to not use this and create a new one. So that leads to the question, how to do it. There's the mast hoops right there. Knowing that it has to be 3 1/4 inches in diameter. I had this little jar here with the plastic lid on it, and the thing is like 3 3/8. So it's just an eighth larger than the biggest diameter that I need. So I just traced it, and then I drew some lines on here to find the center of it. And I started thinking about trying to do a bird's mouth type construction. The bird's mouth would probably solve some issues as far as being able to find the appropriate length of stock, being that I need 16, I think it's 16 foot 3 1/2 inches. I'm probably going to be piecing wood together in order to obtain that. And if I had staves with bird's mouth cuts in them, you could do that and stagger them around the circle and probably achieve a lot of strength. But the more I considered it, the more I can't figure out how to make it thick enough to where when I am at that 2 5/8 diameter at the bottom, or even narrower at the top, that I don't create too much weakness within it, because I just simply won't have that much wood in the different staves. So I'm pretty much abandoning the idea of doing a bird's mouth. I believe the plan pretty much calls for a solid piece, and we've got a 600-pound keel, so I'm not super worried about the weight aloft especially since it's going to be gaff rigged. As usual, this is a thought process, and you're getting a full dose of how my brain works as I try to figure these things out. I've looked for a 4x4 would be perfect. 4x4 dimensional lumber is about 3.5 by 3.5, and you'd only have to take off a little bit to get to your 3.25, which is the largest length of the mast is a 3.25 diameter. So that would be relatively easy, but most of the 4x4 material you find today, at least at the box stores, is treated, and we certainly don't want that. Now I think I've got a line on some Douglas fir that's 4x4, and if I can get that, that pretty much just answers all the questions, because that's just what we'll do. The next question will be, do I go ahead and try to buy a 16 or an 18 foot length, or do I piece together a couple of pieces? And that'll be the next thing to consider. So, more as we progress. So I was all happy last night when I finally came to the idea that I should be able to get 4x4 Douglas fir at Menards, no less. So I went over there this afternoon, and it was raining, and the guy in the yard had no idea where these 4x4s were. It's not something they sell every day, obviously. These are 10 foot 4x4, so about 3.5 by 3.5, and Douglas fir. But I'm really unhappy, and I'm kind of unhappy with myself because I was in a hurry, and I should have taken my time, and I should have looked at them. See that little check down there? Some of these knots are troubling at the least. That's got a check right up in the middle of it. So my thought was that I would splice these together to get my 16-foot mast. The website says they've got 12 and 14 and 16 foot, but I figured 16 foot wouldn't do it because it's got to be 16 foot 3.5 inches. So I thought I'm going to have to splice them together anyway. This will fit in the truck okay. I think I'm going to take them back. Look at that one over there. It doesn't even lay flat on the floor. And this is supposed to be the number 1 stuff. Well, that says 2 on it right there. It's not number 1 stuff. It's number 2 stuff. It wasn't terribly expensive. I was all excited and happy about that. Between these 2 boards, I think I was about $35. I can't use these. I suppose maybe I could get the jib club, or I'm actually thinking I might take the jib club out of this old mast. Maybe the gaff. Maybe the boom. I may be able to get a bunch out of this. All right, if at first you don't succeed. Shoot. Well, so I took all the hardware off. This thing is a little better than 21 feet, 21 foot 3 inches. And I put the tape measure on here and I measured 16 feet would be about to here. The biggest trouble I've got here is that this is this routed. I don't know, I might be able to fill it in with epoxy
and sawdust or something, it'd probably make it really strong. I meant to do this a little bit ago. See how big this thing really is. Well, that's only 2.5. It's only 2.5. Two and a half by not quite 3. That's not going to work. See, I've taken 2x4 and put them together. You can maybe see there. I don't know where the camera's at. There's a joint here, and then it runs along here. So I've taken 2x4s and I stagger them. And so you would have 3.5 inches one way, the width of the 2x4, and then only not even quite an inch and a half sometimes. So those together wouldn't be quite 3 inches. By the time I planed it all down, yeah, no, this won't work. I still may be able to get the boom or gaff or something out of this. I'm going to hang on to it. Tell you something else we're going to do. I'm using bronze screws. This mast is how I got my nickname Turtle. I built this mast for a Demon 15, which was the predecessor to the advanced sailboat Sweet 16. And as you can imagine, it created a certain amount of weight up high. And the Demon is just a centerboard production boat. Well, anyway, I had a very nice sail until I dumped it, and we ended up with this mast all the way pointing down. I completely turtled the boat. So in my little yacht club, that's my nickname, Turtle. I'm going to use bronze screws. I'll tell you that. This was I thought was stainless steel. That one just broke off when I was taking it out. You can see how rusted these are. And this mast hasn't lived outside. It's been in my basement. The only time that it really got super soaking wet is when I turned the boat over. And I'm not sad to take it apart because I was never going to put this mast back on that boat after that experience. So we'll use bronze screws. Got some hardware, a mast cannon, gooseneck. It's all good.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Hopefully with a little more success.